Hi, today I will talk to you guys about transgendered students and school bathrooms. As our world evolves, we are beginning to see new conflicts and debates surface. One of these being the issue of whether transgendered individuals should be allowed to use the bathroom of the gender they identify as. While many fear the risk of sexual violence in bathrooms or fail to recognize transgendered individuals as the gender they identify, there is something to be said. Transgendered individuals should be allowed to use the bathroom of their choice. Recently, especially in the past few months, there has been a lot of discussion on the rights of transgendered individuals to use public facilities. I myself am a huge advocate for the rights of the LGBTQ community, and although I'm not transgendered, I know how it feels to walk into the women's restroom and get a look of panic from others. Transgendered people not only have to fight for authenticity, but equality as well. Today, I will tell you what it means to be transgendered, the difference between sex and gender, and why transgendered students should be allowed to use the restroom that corresponds to the gender they identify as. Now, according to Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation's May 2010 media reference, quote, transgender or gender dysphoria is the state of one's self-gender identity not matching one's assigned sex, which is based on sexuality at birth, end quote. Some people's gender evolves differently and might not fit the rigid traditional notions of female or male. That should have no bearing on whether someone can enjoy fundamental rights. For transgendered people, it does, and to a humiliating, violent, and sometimes lethal degree. Now, in the 2007 book, The No Nonsense Guide to Sexual Diversity by Vanessa Bird states, quote, in the past decade or so, human rights activists have become increasingly aware of the fact that transgender students are particularly at risk from violence at the hands of police and other hostile groups, end quote. Now that I have told you about what transgender means, I will now tell you the difference between sex and gender. Now, to understand gender dysphoria, it is important to understand the difference between sex and gender. According to Justin Healy's 2014 book, Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity, quote, sex pertains to the biological categories of male and female. Gender, on the other hand, is a more slippery concept. It refers to the categories of man or woman and boy and girl. Gender is typically viewed as a natural expression of sex. An example, males are naturally manly, masculine, and females are naturally womanly, feminine, end quote. In simple words, gender refers to the differences in attitudes and behaviors. These differences are perceived as a product of the socialization process rather than the biology process. Gender also includes the different expectations society and individuals themselves hold as regard to the appropriate behaviors of men and women. In Leslie Feinberg's 1996 book, Transgendered Warriors, she states, quote, today the word transgendered has at least two meanings. It has been used as an umbrella term to include everyone who challenges the boundaries of sex and gender. It's also used to draw distinction between those who reassign the sex they were assigned at birth and those whose gender expression is considered inappropriate for our sex, end quote. Now that I've told you the difference between sex and gender, I will now tell you why transgender students should be allowed to use the restroom that matches the gender they identify as. LGBTQ people of all ages and in all regions of the world suffer from violations of their human rights. According to Harsh Reality, a 2009 national study by Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, quote, 90% of transgender students say they have heard derogatory remarks. 2/3 say they feel physically unsafe or uncomfortable. It is impossible for transgender people who have not gone gender reassignment surgery to have cardinal documents such as birth certificates or passports amended to reflect their gender identity. A negative school experience not only hinders a transgendered student's academic achievements and growth, but can also interfere with their long-term health and well-being. For example, I'm not transgendered, but I've encountered on multiple occasions discrimination in women's restrooms. The feeling was unpleasant, and I felt so dehumanized. Now in present day, we see more gender-neutral restrooms, and it is slowly but surely becoming a social norm that I and other students who may feel the same appreciate. Now, to conclude this speech, I hope that I have provided enough information to give you more of an understanding on the trials and tribulations that our fellow transgender classmates face on a day-to-day basis. With all that said, thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you move forward with more compassion to support the LGBTQ community. Thank you.